So this has been a Balaram visit. Yesterday, the last chapter that we discussed of Balaram's pastimes was chapter 67. And before that was chapter 65, and now it's chapter 68. And it's Balaram, Balaram, more Balaram. And chapter 68 is about the marriage of Samba. And we're going to hear a lot about Samba. There's some nice things to hear about him and the glorification of him. But before we hear about Samba, let's hear a little bit about why we're doing what we're doing. Why we spending this kind of time hearing about Lord Balaram. Besides, it's Balaram Jayanti coming up very soon. What's the purpose? And Prabhupada writes in the last chapter of Canto 10, Krishna book, the description of the pastimes of Lord Krishna, and I added, and Lord Balaram, are so attractive that they automatically give us an impetus to study repeatedly. And the more we study the pastimes of the Lord, the more we become attached to him. This very attachment to Krishna makes one eligible to transfer to his abode, Krishna, to Goloka Vrindavan. As we have learned from the previous chapter, that's chapter 89, to cross over the material world is to cross over the stringent laws of material nature. The stringent laws of material nature cannot check the progress of one who is attracted by the spiritual nature. So that's our objective. To diminish or slacken or bring down the feverish pitch of material attraction and absorption and attachment and bewilderment, and move in the direction of attachment to Krishna and to Balaram, because that's the ticket. That's the ticket to the spiritual world. Chapter 67, quick review. We discussed Balaram killing Dvivida gorilla. We heard that Dvivida was one of two sons of the Ashwini Kumaras who were involved in the pastimes of Lord Ramachandra. Great devotee. On the other hand, he made an offense to Lakshmana. We heard about that offense. Specifically, the offense was respect Ram and don't give the same respect to Lakshman, which is the equivalent to Guru Aparad, and that was a problem. And from that problem came a weakness of bad association, the bad association with Narakasura, and he got in a revenge mood for the killing of Narakasura. So he decided he became an asura instead of a devotee, and made a big mess all in the province surrounding Dwarka, Anarta province. And Lord Balaram was engaged in pastimes with ladies from Dwarka. Balaram was very nicely attired, singing amidst a crowd of young women, and he had a big battle. Dvivida, he lost the battle. First, Balaram was using his club, but then Balaram set aside his club and just with his fist smashed Dvivida's collarbone, and he died instantly. He's got his club again, or his plow, Haladar. So that was chapter 67. Now we're going further to Balaram and his associates in Dwarka. So the topic is this marriage of Samba. So let's hear a little bit about Samba. In the third canto, chapter 1, we hear about Samba. Samba exactly resembled his father, the personality of Godhead. Interesting. Directly, this is a verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam. In a previous birth, he, Samba, was born as Kartikeya in the womb of the wife of Lord Shiva, and now he has been born in the womb of Jambavati, the most enriched wife of Krishna. And then commentary explains that the associates of Krishna in their previous life were all demigods. Many of them were demigods. All the demigods of the heavenly planets appeared as associates of Lord in the forms of Pradyumna, Samba, Uddhava, etc. So, for example, Kamadev appeared as Pradyumna, the demigod, Kamadev. Kartikeya as Samba, and one of the Vasus, their celestial personalities. Bhishma was also a Vasu, but Uddhava in his previous life. Now, how does this work? In different ways it works. One of the ways it works is an expansion of those demigods, an angsa of those demigods, a portion of those demigods entered into the body of these associates of Krishna. That's one of the ways. When it came time for Krishna's pastimes to end, it's a very nice description. When it came time for Krishna's pastimes to end, there was a big festival going on at the palace of Vasudeva in Dwarka. Vasudeva held a big yajna, and he invited many sages and qualified brahmanas to perform the yajna. It was a big, big festival. During that festival, the demigods came in person to receive the offerings to those demigods through that festival, through the mantras and everything. One of the persons who came was Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma requested a private audience with Krishna during the course of that festival, and Brahma informed Krishna, "Thank you very much. We made an appeal to you to appear on earth and deal with the demons that were overburdening the earth planet. Job well done. If you so desire," was the cue, "if you so desire, you may now return to your abode. Thank you very much." Back to the festival at Vasudeva's palace. So Krishna began to consider, now that my purpose, Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chaduskatam dharma sangsthapanartaya, now all those purposes have been fulfilled, now my departure. But now that I'm going to depart, I can't leave behind the Yadu dynasty. Why? Because in course of time, not now, but in course of time, Kali Yuga will come after I depart. And when Kali Yuga comes after I depart, everything goes down. And these very, very invincibly powerful members of the Yadu dynasty and their descendants, no one will be able to defeat. And they become corrupted through the influence of the age of Kali. There's no stopping them. So I have to stop them. So I have to remove them. So he made a plan to remove them. The plan to remove them was after the big festival at Vasudeva's palace. Several things happened in this big fratricidal war at Prabhas, etc., etc., etc. So the description there is, of those soldiers that were there with Krishna at Prabhas, some were the eternal associates of Krishna, and the eternal associate of Krishna departed to enter into the apricot. Sounds like a vegetable fruit. It's not apricots. Apricot, non-manifest pastimes. Eternal pastimes in Dwarka, those who were Dwarkavasis. Some are eternal associates of Krishna. So they entered into their apricot phase or manifestation, and some were demigods, and those demigods that joined Krishna's pastimes, as was requested by Krishna to have persons join his pastimes, they returned to the heavenly planets. You with me? 2, eternal, temporary. The temporary were demigods, and they returned to their demigod stations. And again, it's not that the demigods put a sign outside their door saying, sorry, I'm gone for 125 years, back after my lunch break. It's an angsa of them, and then that angsa again entered into the demigod in the heavenly realm. So that's what this paragraph is saying. So Samba is a manifestation of Kartikeya in his previous life. So now comes the beginning of this first verse of this chapter. Shukadeva Goswami is narrating, O king, Maharaj Parikshit, Jambavati's son, Samba, ever victorious in battle, like Kartikeya, who's a great hero on the battlefield, he kidnapped Duryodhana's daughter, Lakshmana, from her Swayamvar ceremony. Most of you know, but I'll say it anyways. Swayamvar ceremony is a special event in the life of a princess, the daughter of a king, or a powerful Kshatriya, where she has the privilege, there's a formal ceremony, Swayamvar ceremony, where she can choose and select her husband. And there's different things that happen during Swayamvar ceremony, but at this particular one, Samba showed up, and Samba kidnapped her. So he put her on his chariot and drove off into the distance. So here's a little description of Lakshmana. Very qualified, of marriageable age, Duryodhana's daughter, from the Kuru dynasty lineage. Samba, Amba means mother. Sa, Amba means he who is very dear to his mother. So he's also known as Jambavati Sutta, very dear to Jambavati. And his parentage similar to hers, son of Krishna and Jambavati. And he was particularly known to be a very powerful warrior, like Kartikeya, very powerful warrior. Harivangsha, which is another literature, is said to be also written by Vyasadeva. When Pradumna, this is a little history, so listen carefully because the chronology can be confusing. When Pradumna was kidnapped by Shambhara, and that description of Pradumna being as a little baby, Pradumna was a little baby, and this demon Shambhara came and kidnapped him. Around that same time, Pradumna, who was the mother of Pradumna? Rukmini, right? Rukmini, the mother of Pradumna. So Rukmini was giving birth to Pradumna, and Jambavati was giving birth to Samba. So they're about the same age, but he's the elder brother, because he's the first one born, Pradumna. So they're chronologically of similar age, and that event is described way back in chapter 55, and we're already on chapter 69. So then a natural question arises. The commentators say, Jiva Goswami, in his commentary on this verse, since the two, Pradyumna and Samba, were almost of the same age, and now so much later this incident is being described, why is it being described so much later? And the answer is, Shukadeva Goswami has become ecstatic, talking about Balaram. So it comes much later, although took place much earlier in the sequence of events. So here we go. Jambavati prayed for a son as beautiful as Pradyumna, although they were born around the same time. Just as Jambavati was dear to Krishna, Krishna was very affectionate to his son, to her son, of course, his son, Samba. So now we're going back to the verse 2 of this storyline. So Jambavati under Swayamvar was kidnapped, and then the Kuru kings all stood up in rage. This ill-behaved boy has offended us, forcibly kidnapping our unmarried daughter against her will because she didn't want to marry him. But he knew Samba liked her, and he knew that she didn't want to marry him, so he did this. It's one way to take care of marriage. Kidnap the girl, even if she doesn't want to be married to you. So here, the commentary is the Kuru kings were calling him a boy, although he wasn't just a boy, is because he was very proud, and they saw him as proud and disrespectful. If the Vrishnis, that's the people over there in Dwarka, the Yadu and Vrishni and Amboja dynasty, those different lineage of kings than us, if the Vrishnis come here, when they learn that their son has been captured, we will break their pride. It's like war talk. Thus, they'll become subdued, like bodily senses brought under strict control. So, who's proud here? That's the Kuru dynasty people, headed by Duryodhana, because he's his daughter. In Prabhupada's Krishna book, this is what he writes. Samba wanted the daughter of Duryodhana, Lakshmana, although she was not inclined to have him. Therefore, Samba kidnapped Lakshmana by force from the Swayamvar ceremony. She didn't have any choice. Now, after this war talk, and having their plan sanctioned by the senior member, singular, of the Kuru dynasty, Karna, Shala, Buri, Yagyakeshu, and Suyodhana set out to attack Samba. So this asterisk there, the senior member of the Kuru dynasty was grandfather Bhishma. And then there's some commentary about how is grandfather Bhishma okay with doing battle with Krishna's son? And here's an answer. Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur answers, Bhishma, or Kuru Vridha, and Vidura gave their permission. Quote, this is commentary by Vishwanath. Since Samba has touched this maiden already, he must be the husband, for it would be improper to marry her to anyone else. To show our bravery and his impropriety, however, we should capture him but not kill him. So sanctioned by grandfather Bhishma and Vidura. Further, this is Jiva Goswami, but actually they approved of the act in order to reveal the false pride of their juniors. Jiva Goswami's commentary. So we're just getting in, the plot is thickening. So there they go, Duryodhana and his companions rushing towards Samba. Samba is a powerful warrior. Front row seat. Come on up. It's okay. Okay. So there's a battle. The battle scene. Samba's a powerful warrior. He's got 5 generals. It sounds a little bit like the battle against Abhimanyu. It's similar, different but similar. And these 5 generals, headed by Duryodhana and others, rushing towards Samba, Samba took up his splendid bow and stood alone against these 5 warriors, like a lion. Determined to capture him, the angry bowmen, led by Karna, so Karna was very powerful too, wasn't he? Shouted at Samba, stand and fight. They came straight for him and showered him with arrows. No, you got to watch out because they don't want to hit Lakshmana, but they're aiming at Samba. So big battle. Twanging his wonderful bow, heroic Samba struck with arrows the 6, it wasn't 5, it was 6, warriors headed by Karna, who was very powerful. He pierced the 6 chariots with as many arrows, each team of 4 horses with 4 arrows, each chariot driver with a single arrow, and similarly struck the great bowmen who commanded the chariots. Battle. The enemy warriors congratulated Samba for his display of prowess. Warriors like a good battle. They were applauding him. So there's a nice scene of Samba standing alone and so many warriors in different directions. Prabhupada writes, while Samba was so diligently fighting alone with the 6 great warriors, they all appreciated the inconceivable potency of the boy. Even in the midst of fighting, they admitted frankly that this boy Samba was wonderful. Now back to Samba. Harivangsha says, from childhood Samba had been trained by Balarama. Aha. Who else was trained by Balarama? Duryodhana. Aha. Duryodhana and Samba. The plot thickens. He was respected by Balarama and all the Vrishnis. By his nature, he was an astounding boy. Harivangsha. So back to the battle. But they forced him down from his chariot, and thereupon 4 of them, that's 4 of the 6, struck his 4 horses. 1 of them struck down his chariot driver, and another broke his bow. So what'd they do? Having deprived Samba of his chariot during the fight, the Kuru warriors tied him up with great difficulty, and then returned victorious to their city, taking the young boy and their princess. Now, as was already indicated, she can't marry someone else now anyways. So what to do? The victory of the Kurus was by the will of the Lord. Jiva Goswami comments, for this particular pastime, just as Aniruddha was captured only by the will of the Lord. Usha and Aniruddha. Any bells ringing out there? Usha and Aniruddha. Different but similar. It's a very nice pastime. It's a little intricate. But Usha kept having this dream. And in her dream, she was having romantic relationships with some young man. And she had a dear friend, Chitralekha, who said, what's up, Usha? There's marks on your body and this and that. And because they're close friends, she disclosed. In my dream, it's all in my dream, but there's romantic of dealings in my dream. Would you like to know who that person is? I'm very gifted at making drawings. So yeah, make drawings. So Chitra means paintings or drawings. She made drawings of this one, that one, the other one, the other one, the other one, and finally Aniruddha. That's him. And so Chitralekha said, if you like, I can bring him here. Because she had, in addition to being good at drawing, she had mystic powers. She knew who the person was. She knew where he was. And at night, in space, she flew, picked him up while he was asleep, and brought her right into Usha's chambers. Usha and Aniruddha. And, in Vedic culture, the buildings are arranged such that the ladies' chambers are in the center of the structures, and men aren't allowed. But not only men was allowed, there was Aniruddha living with Usha, an unmarried daughter. When her father found out, big problem. Aniruddha was captured, tied up. And when the members of the Yadava dynasty found out, there was a plan for a big battle. And so there was a big battle. So in this case, it was like Samba being tied up, Aniruddha being tied up. Aniruddha is the son of Pradyumna, so Krishna's grandson. Anyway, the members of the Yadava dynasty came to know. How did they come to know? Narada Muni told them. Narada Muni gets involved in all kinds of things. Karna and the warriors returned to their palace with captive Samba and freed Lakshmana from his being kidnapped. And here comes Narada Muni. O king, when the Yadavas heard news of this from Sri Narada, Samba was arrested, and improperly so, by 6 warriors, because it's against the code of conduct for warriors. 6 against 1 is against the codes of conduct. They became angry, urged on by King Ugrasena. No, King Ugrasena, Krishna remained silent, because Ugrasena is the king. Krishna has a lot to say, but he remained silent in this case, because he knew how the plot was going to unfold. Balaram's going to take care of it, because Balaram has this affection for his son Samba, and Balaram will take care of it. Balaram has, we heard already in this dragging of, anyway, we'll go on. They prepared for war against the Kurus, but Balaram stepped in. Balaram likes being a conciliator. He likes different things. That's one of the things he likes. Some people like. He likes when there's a conflict to make peace. Balaram cooled the tempers of the Vrishni heroes, who had already put on their armor. He, who purifies the age of quarrel, did not want a quarrel between the Kurus and Vrishnis. Thus, accompanied by Brahmanas and family elders, he went to Hastinapura on his chariot, which was as effulgent as the sun. As he went, he appeared like the moon surrounded by the ruling planets. So here comes Balaram with his entourage. Upon arriving at Hastinapura, Lord Balaram remained in a garden outside the city and sent Uddhava ahead to probe King Dhritarashtra's intentions. This is standard. The head person, in this case Balaram, doesn't go make contact immediately. He sends a messenger or a representative, an envoy. And Uddhava was good. Uddhava is good, and Balaram is good. They're both good at this type of activity. Dhritarashtra, the meaning of Dhritarashtra, because he's the father of Duryodhana, his name Dhritarashtra means, having a kingdom. His desire for the kingdom was the cause of the foolishness of Duryodhana and others, from A to Z. He couldn't stand the idea that because he was blind, he couldn't be the king. So he was trying to become the king one way or another. So Uddhava was sent to speak to Dhritarashtra. After he had offered respects to the son of Ambika, Dhritarashtra, and to Bhishma, Drona, Bhalika, and Duryodhana, Uddhava informed them that Lord Balaram had arrived. He didn't say much more, just Balaram would like to speak with you. And they knew why. And they got their arms across their chest saying, forget it, Balaram. Big mistake. Big mistake. It's a similar mistake. It's a different but similar mistake that was made long, long ago by the previous chapter by Dvivida, by offending Dvivida, offending Lakshmana, by disregarding Lakshmana. He got a big, big reaction. His pure bhakti became corrupted by that offense to Lakshmana. So here, now Balaram is coming. It's not Krishna, but it's Balaram. It's the same Guru Tattva principle. And they're ignoring him. Worse than ignoring him. Overjoyed to hear that Balaram, their dearmost friend, had come, they first honored Uddhava and then went forth to meet the Lord carrying auspicious offerings in their hands. They approached Lord Balaram and worshipped him with gifts of cows and arghya, as was fitting. Those amongst the Kurus who understood his true power bowed down to him, touching their head to the ground. Even the elders like Bhishma Dev also bowed down to Lord Baladev. However, after both parties had heard that their relatives were doing well, because the Kuru and the Vrishni dynasty, their blood relation, their cousins, and that Balaram forthrightly spoke what his purpose was. Lord Balaram said, King Ugrasena is our master and the ruler of kings. With undivided attention, you should hear what he has ordered you to do, and then you should do it at once. Ugrasena has said, even though by irreligious means several of you defeated a single opponent who follows the religious codes, still I'm tolerating this for the sake of unity among family members. Many persons get into tiff over trivials, what to speak of adharma. And it's a adharma for many persons to gang up on one. It's warrior codes. Ugrasena implied that the Kuru should immediately bring Samba and present him to Lord Balaram. Now comes the offense. Upon hearing these words of Lord Baladev's, which were full of potency, courage, and strength, and were appropriate to his transcendental power, the Kauravas became furious and spoke as follows. Oh, how amazing this is. The force of time is indeed insurmountable. A lowly shoe now is to climb on the head that bears the royal crown. In the purport, this is the Bhaktivedanta purport or the BBT purport. Here the Kurus indicate that the fallen age of Kali has indeed already begun, since they claim that though the shoe wants to climb on the head that bears the royal crown, they're thinking we're the kings. In other words, they thought that the lowly Yadus now wanted to rise above the royal Kurus. And the offense goes on. It is because these Vrishnis are bound to us by marital ties that we have granted them equality, allowing them to share our bed, seats, and meals. Indeed, It is we who have given them their royal thrones. No longer should the Yadavas be allowed to use these royal symbols, which now cause trouble for those who gave them, like milk fed to poisonous snakes. Having prospered by our grace, these Yadavas have now lost all shame and are daring to command us. Pride. How would even Indra dare usurp anything that Bhishma, Drona, Arjuna, or any other Kurus have not given him? He would be like a lamb claiming the lion's kill. Chivalrous talk. Shukadeva Goswami narrates to Maharaj Parikshit, "O best of the Bharatas, after the arrogant Kurus, thoroughly puffed up by the opulence of their high birth and relations, had spoken these harsh words to Lord Balaram, they turned and went back to their city." Just turn their, that's another faux pas. You don't speak those words, you don't just turn your back and walk away. Without politeness, turning their backs to him, they entered the city quickly. Bhishma and some others remained, however, because they didn't have that pride and they didn't have that same spirit. Balaram isn't taking it lightly. Seeing the bad character of the Kurus and hearing their nasty words, the infallible Lord Balaram became filled with rage. His countenance frightful to behold, he laughed repeatedly and spoke as follows. They're in for a big problem. See this plow of mine? Clearly, the many passions of these scoundrels have made them so proud they do not want peace. Then let them be pacified by physical punishment, as animals are with a stick. So we notice the symbols in his hand. We've seen this many times the past several days. The plow in one hand and that instrument that's used for, like, goes on the back of a bullock, and it pulls the implements for plowing the field. So he's got his Vaishya paraphernalia with him. But he's going to use them in a different way besides plowing the field. Only gradually was I able to calm the furious Yadus and Lord Krishna, who was also enraged. Desiring peace for these Kauravas, I came here, but they are so dull-headed, fond of quarrel, and mischievous by nature that they have repeatedly disrespected me. Out of conceit, they dared to address me with harsh words. He's going to take some action. King Ugrasena, the lord of the Bhojas, Vrishnis, and Andarkas, is not fit to command when Indra and other planetary rulers obey his order? That same Krishna who occupies the Sudharma assembly hall and for his enjoyment took the Parijata tree from the immortal demigods, that very Krishna is indeed not fit to sit on a royal throne. So this is showing Garuda bringing the Parijata tree from heaven. There's at the very, very top, that's the Parijata tree that was brought by Krishna to the earthly realm because Krishna wanted a Parijata tree for Satyabhama. Right? Balaram expresses how they directly insulted Krishna in 3 verses. So they're not only insulting him and Ugrasena, they're insulting Krishna. The goddess of fortune herself, that was the first of 3 verses. The goddess of fortune herself, ruler of the entire universe, worships his feet. And the master of the goddess of fortune does not deserve the paraphernalia of a mortal king. Commentary. The dust of Krishna's lotus feet, which is the source of holiness for all places of pilgrimage, is worshipped by all the great demigods. The principal deities of all planets are engaged in his service, and they consider themselves most fortunate to take the dust from the lotus feet of Krishna on their crowns. Great demigods like Brahma and Lord Shiva, even the goddess of fortune, and I, are simply parts of his spiritual identity, and we also carefully carry that dust on our heads. And still Krishna is not fit to use the royal insignia or even sit on the royal throne. Now the reference to Sridhar Swami's commentary. Some of you may know, just a little background just to break up this reading of text here. Sridhar Swami was the first amongst the commentators, very celebrated commentaries of Srimad Bhagavatam. Sridhar Swami wrote his commentary at a time when Shankara's teachings were very prominent, and therefore purposefully, Sridhar Swami wrote statements within the commentary, his commentary of Srimad Bhagavatam, that would attract the hearts and the minds and the intellects of Shankara followers, because it sounded like some impersonal taint. But it was a strategy, it's described, to attract Shankara followers to Srimad Bhagavatam, knowing they would become purified. However, all of his commentary is highly devotional. And so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu regarded him as Swami, Sridhar Swami. So when one Ballabha Bhatta, not Ballabhacharya, but Ballabha Bhatta, was visiting Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Puri and was claiming that he had surpassed the commentary of Sridhar Swami, many of you know this from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Lord Chaitanya commented, one who is not faithful to the Swami is like a prostitute. Swami meaning master. So he put Ballabha Bhatta in his place. Don't try to surpass Sridhar Swami. Don't try to surpass exalted previous acharyas. Or one does, it's like the prostitute. Please don't do that. So according to Sridhar Swami, the place of pilgrimage, especially referred to here, is the Ganges. The Ganges water is inundating the whole world, and since it is emanating from Krishna's lotus feet, Vamana's lotus feet, its banks have turned into great places of pilgrimage. So these are thoughts of Balaram about the offensive statements of the Kurus that needed to be corrected. They're getting the reaction to their offense. We Vrishnis enjoy only whatever small parcel of land the Kurus allow us, and we are indeed shoes, whereas the Kurus are the head. Just see how these puffed up Kurus are intoxicated with their so-called power, like ordinary drunken men. What actual ruler with the power to command would tolerate their foolish, nasty words? Notice his plow is raised. He's ready to use it. A ruler cannot tolerate these words, otherwise there would be no control. So sometimes rulers use different methods. In all circumstances, rulers use power. They can use all kinds of, because he came with conciliatory words. But now comes the stick. Today I shall rid the earth of the Kauravas, declared the furious Balarama. Thus he took his plow weapon and rose up as if to set the three worlds ablaze. The Lord angrily dug up Hastinapura, which became separated from the earth with the tip of his plow, and began to drag it, intending to cast the entire city into the Ganges. So that's an interesting painting. Here's the BBT painting of the same. The whole city was separated from the earth, and he started dragging the city towards the Ganges. And here's a close-up, this very nice painting. For your information, I think by the time this section of the Bhagavatam was written, they had a different system than originally, but just for sake of sharing. The system originally from the BBT artists was, there were three principal artists, and there were their assistants that prepared the canvases and this and that and the other thing. And they would sit around. They were the first, even before the transcribers who would transcribe the recorded Bhaktivedanta purports, they would receive these little microcassettes and sit around hearing the recording of Prabhupada speaking Krishna book. And then they would envision the paintings that would go with that particular chapter of Krishna book. They would do their brainstorming, their creative brainstorming. And what the conclusion they came up with was, Bharadraj was the especially creative one, so he made line drawings to match what was their plan to depict that particular chapter of Krishna book, or whatever fifth canto, or whatever Srimad Bhagavatam canto was being sent to them. He envisioned and drew. Janarani filled it in, and Muralidhar came and painted, put in all the details, the jewels and the refinements. Really amazing devotees with amazing skills, and that was their kind of collaborative effort. And then later, paintings like this were done by a single artist. They envisioned, you see over on the right side, that's the Ganges, depicting, massive water and bodies flying into the Ganges, or the Ganges flying into those bodies, dragging the entire city, separating it from the earth to be submerged in the Ganges. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary. By the Lord's desire, his plow had increased in size, and that as Balarama began dragging Hastinapura towards the water, he ordered the Ganges, except for Samba, you should attack and kill everyone in the city with your water. Balarama gave an order. Seeing that their city was tumbling about like a raft at sea as it was being dragged away, and that it was about to fall into the Ganges, the Kauravas became terrified. To save their lives, they approached the Lord for shelter, taking their families with them, placing Samba and Lakshmana in front. They joined their palms in supplication. Balarama wasn't worried about Samba because he ordered the sea not to drown Samba. But he pulled the city towards the sea, which is the sea, but to the water, in order to check their pride. Oh, Rama, Rama, foundation of everything, we know nothing of your power. Please excuse our offense, for we are ignorant and misguided, which is true. Since we did not know your powers, this is commentary, and since you are merciful to the fallen, you should not consider our offense. You alone caused the creation, maintenance, and annihilation of the cosmos, and of you there is no prior cause. Indeed, O Lord, authorities say that the worlds are mere playthings for you as you perform your pastimes. So somehow they got transcendental knowledge real fast. In the Narayana Dhyatma, nice text, this is commentary. The creation of the Lord does not depend on a goal. He does this simply out of bliss, like the dancing of a madman. So at the bottom of the universe, there's Anantashesh, who is an expansion of Balarama, right? Yes. There's Anantashesh at the bottom of the universe, holding up the universe on his hoods. Oh, unlimited one of 1,000 heads, as your pastime you carry this earthly globe upon one of your heads. At the time of annihilation, you withdraw the entire universe within your body, and remaining all alone, lie down to rest. The creation, maintenance, and dissolution. Please don't dissolve us. During the daily destruction, this is a detail. After Brahma's day, there's a partial annihilation. At the end of Brahma's life, there's a total annihilation. But the end of each day of Brahma, when he goes to sleep, there's an inundation. The universe remains protected within your form as Garbhodakshay. Another nice painting of the Earth planet, or the planets of the universe, being held by Anantashesh. And who's that below Anantashesh? Kurma. Your anger is meant for instructing everyone. It is not a manifestation of hatred or envy, O Supreme Lord. You sustain the pure mode of goodness, and you become angry only to maintain and protect this world, which is true. The Kurus admit that Lord Balaram's anger was entirely appropriate, and in fact was meant for their benefit. Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur writes, because you exhibited this anger, we have now become civilized, whereas previously we were wicked and could not see you, blinded as we were by pride. By your kindness, you have removed our pride. Again, commentary. What type the anger was? What type was his anger? The purpose of Balaram's anger was to maintain respect for rules of conduct. Because you have exhibited such anger, we are now obedient. And Balaram becomes very calm. We bow down to you, O soul of all beings, O wielder of all potencies, O tireless maker of the universe. Offering you obeisances, we take shelter of you. Now this is the same Balaram that does this childish pastimes with Krishna in Vrindavan. It's the same person. It's just a different Leela. And the different Leela comes at a different phase, and here he is to redeem Samba and release him and return him to Dwarka as a peacemaker, because Ugrasena was ready to make war. The Yadu dynasty and all their armies is huge. So why have a big conflagration? He just, let me go as the peacemaker. Shukadev Goswami said, we're almost done. Thus propitiated by the Kurus, whose city was trembling, and who were surrendering to him in great distress, Lord Balaram became very calm and kindly disposed toward them. Do not be afraid, he said, and took away their fear just by his words. The city's shaking, but his words gave them reassurance. The Supreme Lord, chief of the Yadus, accepted all these gifts and then departed with Krishna's son and daughter-in-law as his well-wishers bid him farewell. So daughter-in-law, that means Balaram accepted, although Samba is Krishna's son, Krishna and Jambavati's son, he had a relationship with Samba like his son. He had great affection for Samba, like father to son. And now the daughter-in-law, the wife-to-be, there isn't a formal marriage yet, but it's about to happen when they get back to Dwarka. Duryodhana very kindly gave a big dowry. That's part of the culture of marriage. 1,260-year-old elephants. 60-year-old elephants. 60-year-old elephants. 1,200 elephants. 120,000 horses. 6,000 golden chariots, shining like the sun. 1,000 maidservants to assist Lakshmana, his daughter, with jeweled lockets on their necks. So they're on their way back to Dwarka. He reaches Dwarka, there's a big festival. Then Lord Hala Yudha, Hala means his plow, entered his city and met his relatives, whose hearts were all bound to him in loving attachment. In the assembly hall, he reported to the Yadu leaders everything about his dealings with the Kurus. Even today, the city of Hastinapura is visibly elevated on its southern side along the Ganges, thus showing the signs of Lord Balaram's prowess. And that's Prabhupada's comment. There's so much true. The southern side of Hastinapur. So we've been hearing a lot about Balaram, and I hope you're feeling a little bit better prepared. There's more chapters that just are about Balaram. Some very nice chapters. Balaram's role in the marriage of his sister. Krishna and Balaram had a sister. What was Krishna and Balaram's sister's name? Subhadra. So that was very exciting pastime. A different role, but in the role of the elder brother. So, I invite you, go over these, as Prabhupada explained in chapter 90 of Krishna book, by hearing these pastimes again and again, it gives one some attachment instead of to the temporary and all the things that life is made up of all the time. We're so involved in things day after day after day after day, and they may change somewhat, but it's things. And the transcendental sound vibration has power. We discussed this, like the power of the sun, and there's a way to focus the light and heat of the sun and make fire just from the sun's rays. So hearing again and again with concentration, with attention, it's the same. It's different, but in principle it's the same as hearing the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. There's a nice verse. There's many nice verses. One of the verses in Namastaka. Ashtaka means 8 prayers. Namastaka is 8 prayers written by Rupa Goswami about the chanting of the holy name. And one of those prayers, number 6, you can look it up later if you like. I encourage you to look it up later. Rupa Goswami writes that there are 2 manifestations of Krishna. One is Krishna's form, And then the other is Krishna through sound. Vacha and Vachaka. The person, the form of Krishna himself, and the sound of Krishna, which means the name is the sound, but these descriptions of Krishna's pastimes, Krishna's and Balaram's pastimes, it's association with them through sound. And if we listen with attention, it's not just information, that kind of learning. That's possible. Just learn with that kind of, so you know this and that and the other piece of information. You got a very full information basket, and you can be very proud of how much information you have. That's one kind of hearing, but there's another kind of hearing, and that's with the understanding that sound vibration is the same as the person. So how accessible is that sound vibration? Here we are sitting in the house. It's not that Krishna has come through the front door, but Krishna has come through our ear, through sound. And it's the same, exactly. And in fact, of the two, the more merciful is the sound. The presentation, the being in the physical proximity, spiritual proximity with Krishna through sound. That's how valuable is Krishna book or Srimad Bhagavatam, and how important it is for us to distribute, to receive in a qualitative way, and to give others the opportunity to receive in a qualitative way. So it requires being a good representative of that message, but broadcasting the message to our capacity. And that's the cure for this age. Now, harsh speech can have its problem. So I just want to make one last little comment. There's a devotee, and I think I can say this in an open manner. A devotee recognized that they had a tendency of harsh speech. I mean, nice devotee, but a tendency. And they came across this from our Memorial Day weekend retreats in Gitanagari. Some of you have attended those events. 2 years in a row, I invited Bir Krishna Maharaj to come and make his presentation along with everything else that was going on during the Memorial Day weekend. And it was liked so much that one of the devotees in the attendance, Sri Radhika, wanted to learn that system. It was the system of nonviolent communication. Some of you may know about nonviolent, it's NVC, it's got an acronym. Marshall Rosenberg, he's now deceased, but he lived in Arizona, and he had an institute where he wanted to teach people how to communicate in a very respectful and effective and nonviolent manner. There's different ways of speaking. I mean, I'm accustomed because I saw a few videos. He had puppets on his hand, and he would model. Here's a giraffe because giraffes have a big heart even compared to the rest of their body. And then there's a jackal. So there's the jackal speak, and then there's giraffe speak. So there's nonviolent communication, and there's the jackal speak. And he would role model or role play how, different scenarios, and how one can have a nonviolent system of communicating something or a violent way of communicating something. So Bir Krishna Maharaj told me that he enrolled in his seminar, went to Arizona for a week or whatever it was, and sat in and learned the procedure because he felt it's important for devotees cultivating the quality of goodness. Bhagavad Gita 17:15 speaks of speech that's not nonviolent, or is soothing speech. And that's a characteristic of one in the mode of goodness. They know how to speak nicely. So the Kauravas didn't know how to speak nicely, and that created a problem arising from pride and everything else that goes along with pride. So there's a seminar for those of you that would like to learn how to not speak like the Kauravas, or even when provoked, even when there's a cause, to not speak harshly, but speak empathically, or speak in the quality of goodness in all circumstances, good, bad, and mixed. So there's a little seminar. Sri Radhika, she's based in Central America, Central USA, in Chicago suburbs, and teaches this seminar different online and in person and this and that. So if you're interested to learn, you can check it out. She'll sign you up, and at different times there's different cycles of that seminar. I think she did the same thing. I think she went and got certification from the Marshall Rosenberg School of Nonviolent Communication. Of course, Krishnaized what he taught, but the principles apply. So it's harsh speech is hurtful. It hurts oneself, and it can lead to offense, and that offense leads to other problems. So try to avoid it, and try to learn how to speak the truth palatably. Don't deviate from the truth. Don't sugarcoat the truth and make it into something that's not truth anymore, but palatably. Okay, let's see if there's some discussion. Yes, Mahamantra. I better check my phone.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. Bhishma Dev's and Vidura's participation in this pastime, sanctioning the capture of Samba. So you said they already know, Lakshmana can be married by anyone else. But my question is,
Why?
why is that particular language?
Why that particular
Language, like capture or punish, something like that.
You want me to go back and find the slide and see what they actually said? They sanctioned that he be captured, but not killed.
Yeah.
And because they knew what would be the consequence. I mean, they know Krishna.
Right.
So capture Samba, who's the son of Krishna, and because they're all the riled up fellows. So rather than throw cold water on the riled up fellows, they enacted in such a way that permitted the pastime to flow. And Krishna will take care of it, no problem. So, but don't violate this law that he's not to be killed. He can be punished. It's a little bit like the advice that Vibhishan gave to Ravana. The messenger, you can punish him, but you can't kill him. Similar.
Okay.
It's just a rule, a code amongst Kshatriyas, powerful dudes. And how do you control those powerful guys? You have codes. So they decided, rather than try to rain on their parade, just follow codes. And Krishna will take care of the whole situation. No worries.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. And another question is, so if a Kshatriya kidnaps a girl, and still it can be pursued, or
I can't read your mind. What's your question?
I mean, it's very clear that once someone touches the girl, that should be married only by that person. So, y-
I can't read your mind. Finish your sentence.
so still they went to war, with Samba, and in Rukmini's case, they went to war with Krishna. So, is that allowed as the code of conduct?
Was what allowed? The
Going,
warring between the two families?
yeah.
Well, it's not exactly allowed or not allowed.
Okay.
It's just human nature. The get back spirit of human nature. Now, are there laws when something like that does happen? It's I didn't discuss, but Krishna speaks in a very reasonable way to Balaram when Arjuna kidnaps Subhadra. And it's get him and da 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 da. The people are putting on their armor. They're ready to do what Balaram says.
Yeah.
And then Balaram stops them and says, one person in this assembly is remaining silent.
Yeah.
And that's Krishna. So let's hear from Krishna. Why is he being silent? And Krishna, when being called upon, he gives the answer of why it's actually of the virtuous kind of marriage for a person like Balaram. A person like Arjuna. He's a great hero. And he gives his reasons why, he doesn't want us to, buy. Anyway, and he gives his reasons. The dowry and all that. So he poo-poos that system. And it's actually a valorous and respectable for us and for him, and the union between the two ruling parties. It's fantastic. So instead of chasing after him and doing battle, chasing after him and bring him back and have a nice marriage here. So your specific question is there some rule against battle when something like this happens? That's your question.
Yes.
I don't know of any rule against it.
Okay.
There's reason against it. One reason is she can't marry someone else anyways. Yeah. So why do battle? Just, get back because this thing happened. It's in amongst Kshatriyas, not other orders, it's noble. It's not, they're taking it as an insult, but it's noble.
Yes.
From a chivalrous Kshatriya. So honor it. Back to your question, is there something against it? I don't know of anything against it. It's just human nature. Oh yeah, we'll show you. We've been insulted.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So my question is that could you repeat Krishna and his sounds difference?
Can I do what?
Could you repeat Krishna and his sounds difference?
Krishna.
Sound difference.
Oh, you want to know the difference?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll say it slowly, and then you can, or with the assistance of mom and dad, find Namastaka, number 6. It's a series of 8 prayers, and the 2 words in that verse is Vacha, that's Krishna's form, his Swarup, and Vachaka, the sound manifestation of Krishna. there's Krishna and his name, or the Krishna in this person and the pastimes of Krishna described in the Bhagavatam. That's Vachaka. So of the two, the Vachaka is even more merciful. And the reasoning goes like this. I can't see your head. There's eye contact. Can you, Matt, yeah, there we go. Okay. Okay, thanks. Eye contact. Lord Buddha. Who is Lord Buddha? He's a form, he's one of the Das avatars. He's a form of the Supreme Lord, right?
Yeah.
But he rejected the sound manifestation. He rejected the Vedas, which is the sound manifestation of the Supreme. There's Parabrahma and Shabda Brahman. Shabda means sound. So the Shabda, that's the Vachaka, that's the sound. And then there's the person. And the person and the sound are not different, but supposing the person rejects the sound, we reject the person. We don't listen to that person because they reject the sound manifestation. So of the two, more important is the sound manifestation. Got it?
Yeah. Thank you.
Like, how did you become a devotee? Did Krishna knock on your door, ring the bell? So you went to the door and said, Krishna said, can I come in? You said, sure, come on in. So you got to meet Krishna that way. Or someone gave you the chance to hear the chanting of the Mahamantra. Someone gave you the chance to hear Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. And that's how you became a devotee. And may that wonderful day come where Krishna will knock on your door and say, here I am, let's go. Maybe that will come. Maybe not. But the sound is most merciful and most important, therefore, for us.
Thank you.
Namasaka number 6. Check it out. Look it up.
Yes.
In fact, you have a copy of that? So you circulate the verse. Yes. Behind you.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. The two qualities of Guru Tattva was standing to me, that now how Balaram was being he's
Being disrespected.
He was when he was disrespected, he was angry towards Kauravas, but and also at the same time when they accepted that he was showing his mercy upon them. So these wonderful qualities of the Guru I was appreciating, and also I was just thinking how relating to Narada Muni, how he showed his mercy upon Nalakuvera and Manikriva. Though it's seeming like he was punishing, but at the same time he was giving them the ultimate benefit. Sometimes I hear that when somebody make an offense towards Guru and they're finished. So my question is that intentionally made an offense so that they are finished, because my heart doesn't accept that Guru is being very, very merciful. How can it be possible that if unknowingly, innocently made some offense that can be affected to that person?
You know the answer. Bhagavad Gita 9:31. Chipram bhavati dharmatma. And even if it's sudurachar, that's that previous verse, 30. Sudurachar, very bad. Krishna corrects. So Krishna corrects through the agency of his representatives, just like Balaram killed Dvivida. So what happened to what was the result of Dvivida's being killed by Balaram? He achieved liberation. His offense was completely gone. The reaction to his offense was completely gone, and he achieved liberation. So it's not indelible. That seems to be your question. It's not permanent, indelible. A mark that stays with the soul forever and ever and ever. Not so. It's serious, but not forever and ever. And it is specifically, Madhurya Kandamini, chapter 4, discusses the consequence of aparad. And Guru aparad is one of the offenses discussed. So there's a remedy for all offenses or aparads. It may take some time, but there's remedy. It's not indelible. It doesn't go with the soul forever. Okay? To say finished, what does that mean? It's not the soul dies or something. There's no such thing. Impeded or inhibited, but not finished. The soul can't be killed. Something else? We want to pass the microphone up front this way.
In Krishna book it says, Prabhupada wrote, Krishna was specifically more affectionate towards Jambavati sons. Is there any reason?
He wasn't more affectionate towards Jambavati's son. He was especially affectionate. He was affectionate to Jambavati and therefore to Jambavati's son. That's what it said. Because of his affection for Jambavati, he naturally had affection, special affection for Samba. I mean, he had affection for all of his children. Fathers have affection for their children. And his special affection for Jambavati led to a special affection for Samba. And on top of that, Balaram had special affection for Samba. So double affection. Samba was very fortunate. Yes.
So when you said that the demigods don't come themselves, but like a part of them comes,
An angsa.
It's called ansa, which is kind of like a part of
Yes. Angsa means part.
part of them, but they still exist where they are.
Yes.
So did Samba also, like Kartikeya also existed and his ansa came, or did he didn't exist anymore, Kartikeya?
The rule applies across the board. So that you're asking a very specific question, and my answer is the rule applies across the board. That is to say that these personalities became associates of Krishna, it means an angsa of those personalities. Those personalities didn't leave. Kartikeya didn't leave, etc., etc., etc. They didn't leave. But an angsa of them entered into that personality. So the rule applies.
Okay, thank you.
It's not like Kartikeya died and then Kartikeya was born again as Samba. There's no indication like that in any case. I mean, it says in a previous life, it does say that, but it doesn't mean Kartikeya died and then his next life he became. It's just an angsa. In a previous existence, that's who he was. As with all the demigods that took birth on earth. It's not like all the heavenly realm emptied out so they could take birth on earth and follow Krishna's instruction or Vishnu's instruction. But they did it that way. At least that's what the scripture describes. There may be exceptions. That's the rule. Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for the lecture. It's not a question, but I just wanted to share something about Balaramji, that the personality from the slides that you showed. On one of the passages or the slides, it says how he is compared to the moon, which is like cool and peace, surrounded by the sun and the planets.
Yeah,
But on the next slide, when
like the sun.
Yes,
It's poetic language. There's poetic license, sometimes and sometimes. So it indicates the intensity of his strength, that's the sun, but gentle and cooling like the moon. So it's just metaphor, poetic imagery to help convey the nature of the person. Poetry.
Thank you.
For poetry, it's allowed. Kavis can get away with it.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you for the nice class, Maharaj. My question is from the yesterday's class, the Dvivida's pastime. Dvivida was having a nice association with really good devotees like Hanuman, and everyone was there around him. But still he made that offense to Lakshmana. Is it coming from the vasana or
What the commentary says in Ramayana, Govindaraj says that the Lord wanted to teach a lesson. No, I'm not sure it's Govindaraj that said it. The Lord, that means the personality of Godhead wanted to teach a lesson. And the lesson is the consequence of making offense. So it's not the norm, it's the arrangement. Specific to the Supreme Lord. And they appeared as associates of Lord Ramachandra, and through them, the Lord wanted to teach something. So it was inspired by the Lord. You're saying it's vasanas, it was inspired by the Lord to teach a lesson. Don't offend Lakshmana. Yes.
so?
Which means don't offend Guru Tattva.
Yeah, Maharaj. So Maharaj, when we say respecting the Guru and the Lord, right? Is it the order in which we need to follow respecting them? Like first respecting the Guru first and respecting the Lord next, or
Yes. Because you know the answer to that. We don't approach Krishna directly, we approach Krishna through the representative. I mean, the classic in Ramayana is Vibhishan. Didn't approach Ram directly, he approached the devotees of Ram. And they conveyed to Ram his Vibhishan's desire to be accepted by him. So the submission is unto Ram through the agency of. So it starts with the representative of and goes to the person who one is submitting to. Okay? Yeah. Last two questions.
So Maharaj, Samba kidnapped Lakshmana from her Swayamvar.
Yeah.
So was it like misuse of his strength? Because I was thinking like
it's heroism. It's heroism. Don't think like that.
Okay.
He wasn't misusing.
Because
he's a hero.
Okay.
And it's noble. That's exactly what Krishna said to Balaram about the kidnapping of Subhadra. It's noble. It's a virtuous act for a powerful warrior to do this. It's part of his virtue.
Yeah.
It's not misuse.
Okay. Because like Balaramji punished Kurus because of their misconduct or pride, and I was just thinking.
That's different.
I was just thinking like he also did misconduct in that.
No,
like
don't judge Balaram. Don't make that mistake.
Yeah, that's.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. Maharaj, I have a question. Like as we were watching the slides, I saw that description of Lord Balaram, which is given equal to Lord Krishna, and I understand that Lord Balaram is non-different from Krishna. His expansion of Krishna.
As his expansion,
Yeah.
yes.
And all the descriptions were relevant, but we also I also come across such you know um, explanations when I'm reading like Ekadashi descriptions of Ekadashi fast, in which it will say this Ekadashi is the most potent, it's the most virtuous, and with for each
Yeah.
it will be. And even in like scriptures we come across descriptions, glorification of something. So Guru Maharaj, I always kind of have this question and don't understand it, like how it is it?
How do you balance this comparative thing?
Yeah.
Comparative and superlative thing? The Bhagavatam is the Supreme Court. It's the gold standard. So there's nothing above that. Then there's all kinds of other glorifications, and they're nice. And they're nice, and they're nice, and they're nice, but they're not of the same standard. So the glorification is there purposefully to have people feel some respect, same as this language used yesterday, adarat, with respect. So there's this reason, that reason, the other reason, because it adds to the respect. When I hold something with respect, then I treat it differently than one that I just kind of not so important. So how do you process these comparative superlative? It's to encourage. And it's not in the same absolute nature as something that's within the Bhagavatam. That's how you handle it. You don't give it the same weight. It's nice. And it's purposeful. And so we respect. And don't let that be the guide of your life.